Call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add another item under your calendar for approval. After consulting with the county attorney and Mr. Johnson, we have two leases, one with Four County Players and the other with the Barbersville Ruritan. As you know, Four County Players is going through a major project to expand the rear of the building. I think it's come to everybody's understanding that the best way to go about this is to accommodate that expansion in the Four County Players lease, but also updating the Barbersville Ruritan's lease term to coincide with the Four County Players. So, having said that, I would like for you all to approve authorization to advertise a public hearing to update both of these leases for your April 9th board meeting.
Similarly, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request your consideration to schedule a public hearing on April 9th for the text amendment that the board previously initiated planning commission action on related to the private road standards.
Okay. Also April 9th.
Yes, sir, April 9th.
Okay. All right. Any other changes to the agenda? Not. Is there a motion?
Approve as
Okay.
modified.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, Business Spotlight. Jerry Hunt and Kathy Judge, co-owners of Books Bound to Please. Come up to the podium if you would. I just learned where you are a few moments ago. So tell us about what you're doing and where you are so everyone knows.
Okay, we are Kathy Judge and Jerry Lee Hunt, with Books Bound to Please at 132 West Main Street, behind, Maria Pace. We're an independent bookshop selling new and gently used books and artwork on consignment from local artists. We opened our doors on February 11th, and so far we're very pleased with the response we've had from the community. So many people have commented how happy they are to have a local bookshop. We held our ribbon cutting ceremony with the Chamber of Commerce last Friday during our spring blizzard, and we couldn't be more pleased with the turnout. This town is very supportive of local business, even in bad weather. Our motto is, every Main Street needs a bookstore. Both of us have been enthusiastic readers all of our lives, and we believe very strongly that books and bookstores are important to a community. As our local pharmacy wrote in their February newsletter, the unique character of your local community is defined in large part by the businesses that reside there, and that plays a big factor in overall satisfaction with where you live and the value of your home and property. We intend for Books Bound to Please to become a hub for neighbors to gather, to meet each other, and to facilitate conversations around books and ideas. We have plans for author readings and book signings, reading and writing group gatherings, craft events, and even music. We want to put books into the hands of every Orange resident and every visitor to our beautiful part of Orange.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
So are you, what are you doing to sort of foster the conversation? Do you have an area that people can gather and have coffee or whatever, or you have plans for something like that? Or
We've set the bookstore up so that we have more than two very comfortable chairs.
That's a start.
And we've got a nice central table that people can sit at.
Okay.
And we are fully capable of making somebody a cup of tea or coffee. We have a little donation jar out for a sweet gal who does some non-gluten baking for us that we periodically pull out for people to sit and start a conversation, have a conversation kind
Sure.
of thing. So,
Nice.
great.
And a great location,
It's very
as I
nice.
now learned, so.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Well, tonight is part of your advertising campaign. That's one of the reasons we do this. And
Well,
so
great.
We welcome you and thank you. Anyone else have any questions or
Where
comments?
were they exactly now?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. At the corner, but there's a gift shop and what is it?
We're right next door to the current ODA offices, which is
Oh, okay.
right
okay.
by the Orange Pharmacy.
Right,
Okay,
And
Across
then
from the post
our
office.
other
Across from the post
neighbor
office. Okay,
is the
all right.
Union Bank.
gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right.
Great.
Right,
That's a place I can go when I got here early and I got time to kill.
here's your first conversation, so,
We're open until 6.
That works.
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
and
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I see no new business, no old business, no director report from, or constitutional officers, county attorney.
No need to break the cycle, nothing to report.
My goodness, county administrator's report,
Of course, I will.
a brief report, I take
I will
it.
break the cycle. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I come to you today with an update on our development of our FY 19-2020 operating capital budgets. Essentially, we've modified the schedule. I've included that in your agenda, and what we'll be doing is we'll be meeting our one-on-ones next week. On your March 26th meeting is when, one-on-one meetings, Ms. Bradley and I with each board member beyond the Budget Committee of Chairman White and Mr. Johnson. We will present the proposed budget to you on the 26th, and I would request and recommend at that time that you authorize the public hearing for the budgets as well as the tax rates. You still have 2 opportunities for work sessions if you need it. You would defer your advertisement authorization until those work sessions. If you don't hold those work sessions, then we would go forward with the public hearing on the 16th at 7 p.m., and then you'd be in a position to adopt it a week later, which is the requirement by the state code for the schools portion of the budget. This still keeps us on track. I've let the treasurers aware of this because of the bills that would have to go out with the new tax rates and things. So I think we're all in a good spot right now with the budget, and I know Ms. Bradley and I look forward to talking with the other 3 supervisors next week on the proposed budget.
Okay, any questions? All right, board comment, anyone?
All right.
Okay, go ahead, we're gonna set a record anyway.
Yeah, no, I wanted to comment on the new recycling boxes. Number one, they're much smaller and, take up a lot less of the space outside of, where I work, since the county doesn't own that property, but my company does, and has allowed the boxes to be there. I did have one request from the public, to open the tops because the, sides were too small to pour their box into. So I'll pass that on to Weedy tomorrow, but, yeah, other than that, it seems to be going well.
I think Mr. Hildebrand is already working on that issue to maybe find a solution.
Okay.
I think others have had the same
Reaction.
reactions and input, so.
Yeah, if the opening were just this big instead of this big.
I had a chance to judge the Miss Orange contest a week or so ago. The interviews were the most interesting part, and there were 12 very bright and eloquent young ladies. Look at that, and you can see the county's probably in pretty good hands for the future.
Nice.
Good.
I do have a comment also.
Sure.
I got a email from a constituent this past week that wanted to know why they were just learning about something that's been going on for over 2 years now. And I'd just like to remind everybody that it is the responsibility of the citizens and the businesses to, if they don't get the local paper, which they absolutely should, it's a fine, fine publication. If they don't get that, and they have the ability to write an email, they have the ability to go on the county's website to see what public hearings and what information may be out there, as well as talking to people in the community and even calling us to talk to us about it. It was very disconcerting to get something like this from somebody that professes to be well-informed. And I just wanted to make sure that anyone that may be watching this or reading the newspaper, that it is their responsibility to stay informed. Thank you, sir.
Have an
Oh.
example.
Go ahead, Lee. No, you go ahead, because I'm still trying to find something here.
An example of some guy who didn't know anything about the GWAP.
How in
Yeah.
God's name?
And,
What are we now, 7 years into that or something?
and he brought it up at a Veterans Club meeting, and was, because I was explaining something. So it's the first time he heard about it. I didn't have to worry. Everybody else clouded up and rained all over him.
Perfect.
Very good.
This is sort of combining Mr. Crozier's comments and Mr. Goodwin's comments. A constituent did point out that there's really not any information on our website about the new recycling containers and what the standards are and so forth, and they felt it would be good to have something on our website that addresses that. And it may even be something to think about, to maybe put some signs up at each location, sort of giving some, there's minimal instructions on there, but maybe it needs to be restated a little bit more about what you can do and what you can't do. And one more thing, the cardboard slots are on the back, and I think there's some people that don't realize that. So, there'd be a way to kind of, after a while, everybody's gonna know this, it's not gonna be a big deal, but right now, it's new, so people are.
Yeah, I've had a couple of inquiries myself, and, it's those that are really conscientious about recycling want to do it correctly and get as much out of it as possible, and so they are a little bit confused at this point about what they should or shouldn't be doing. So
And for instance, there's different kinds of cardboard, and there's some confusion about whether it's all cardboard goes in there, only certain types. I'm not a cardboard expert, but apparently there's a number of different types, and
At the litter control committee meeting yesterday, there was some concern expressed that some of these, now that we're single stream, people are throwing more stuff in there than they ought to. So that needs to be reiterated, that styrofoam and bubble wrap and things like that don't belong in the recycle bin.
Well, if they're throwing it in there, at least they're not throwing it on the roads.
No.
Sorry to hear about that.
I received my daily complaint today. Get one every
feedback
day.
I've had so far, people are generally positive
Yes.
about it.
Yes,
Yes.
But they just, they want to do it right and a little bit more
it's changed.
exchange of information about what the transition is really all about, I think would be helpful. A couple of people even asked, why'd you do it? And I think there's, a little bit of outreach we could do.
Well, you told them we did it because it was for them.
Yeah, I tried. Worked with one, didn't work with you.
I think it's good, given our light agenda, that we're able to stretch this out as much as we are.
Any questions on the information items?
I've also had an inquiry from a local group about, things they could possibly get involved with. And one of the things, because they were talking about recycling, and it occurred to me that if we could get some of the local service organizations to kind of get behind we've had a number of discussions about litter and trash and so forth. And, maybe the litter committee could do some outreach to some of these, like the Rooting Clubs and the Lions Club and whoever, any of these service organizations, just to help get the word out, if nothing else, but maybe also, one of those groups might decide that that'd be a good project for them to get involved in, so.
Sure, absolutely.
The bulk of what we have, I think it's gonna take them all and more.
Yeah, it's
It's ridiculous.
It's a matter of try to make, you try to make it better and not worse. So that's, you're not gonna make it perfect.
There's something like about 30 Adopt a Highway groups within Orange County. And we are sending a letter to the state because they won't give us the address of the people, so that they can send it out to these various groups and see if they want to continue to do this, because some of the areas that haven't adopted the highway have not done a lot to do this. So a couple of thoughts in terms of trying to build recognition for those people, either adopt a highway groups or other volunteer groups, and give them some recognition, maybe even a resolution saying, we thank these various people for helping to keep our roads clean.
Okay, good. I'll say again, any questions on the information items?
Nope.
All right, we tried. Appointments to boards and commissions, anyone? Okay. Calendar item we talked about. Any other questions other than the addition of the two public hearings on April 9th? Mr. County Attorney.
Do you want a motion on the calendar?
I would move to
Yes, sir.
conduct those two public hearings as identified by Ellison and County Administrator.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Orange County desires to discuss in closed meeting the following matters: discussion and consideration of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the public body with respect to broadband and fire. Discussion concerning a prospective business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating its or expanding its facilities in the community. Consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the public body regarding specific legal matters requiring provision of legal advice, specific counsel concerning trash and debris, Lake of the Woods fire, and easements. And whereas pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A1, A5, and A8 of the Code of Virginia, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Orange County does hereby authorize discussion of four state matters in closed meeting. Need that as a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we will come down here after a closed meeting session to adjourn the closed, come out of the closed meeting, and then we'll adjourn and recess the meeting for our annual dinner with the cooperative extension, and then we'll be back here at 7:30 for the public hearings.
Members of the board, to the best of your knowledge, were the only matters discussed in the closed meeting, public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements, and that only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Crozier?
Aye.
Mr. Frame?
Aye.
Mr. Goodwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
5-0.
Okay, we're going to recess until approximately 7:30.
Yes, sir.
Call the meeting back to order. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comment. For those of you who don't do this all the time, public comment is a chance for you to choose your topic. Other than any of the three public hearings that we're going to have a little bit later in the evening. When we get to the public hearings, I encourage you to focus on the topic at hand in each one of those. There are three. So I'll open the public comment period at this point. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No, sir, not for public comment period.
We'll close the public comment. Which brings us to public hearing number 1, disposition of county-owned property. Mr. Latchney.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this was a request that came from Virginia Department of Transportation. They're doing a road project out on Route 635. As they were doing their title work, they discovered that we owned a .195 acre parcel. We didn't realize we owned it. We had tried to quit claim it all the way, and apparently when somehow the person who we quit claimed it to deeded some of it, and it wound up back in our hands, .195 acres. The VDOT has offered us $500 plus the cost of our advertising for this public hearing and has requested that we deed it to them for this road project. And I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone has.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone signed up to speak? Public hearing number 1.
Yes, sir.
Close the public hearing. Okay, gentlemen, any comments, questions, motions?
I would move that we sell that .195 acres to the VDOT.
I would second that, being that actually the doctor had named me the patron saint of getting this damn road fixed. So, in light of that, yeah, let's hurry up and get it done, so the people that live up there can have a road.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Frame,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Crozier,
Aye.
Mr. Goodwin,
Aye.
and Mr. White.
Aye.
5-0.
Okay. Public hearing number 2 is a boundary agreement with Greene County. Mr. Latchney, this is yours as well.
Mr. Chairman, there's a subdivision right on the green-orange line, Pretty Creek subdivision, which was built many years ago, 20-plus years ago. And at the time it was built, it was everybody's understanding that all of those homes were in Greene County. They've all been taxed in Greene County the entire time. The children have been going to school in Greene County. The State Board of Elections determined a few months ago that 7 of those homes were actually in Orange County. And so Greene County requested, and this board has discussed, that we do a boundary line adjustment to put those 7 homes officially into Greene, where everybody's thought they were for the last 20-plus years anyway. So what this is a boundary agreement that we would submit to the circuit court, and it would just draws a little small line to grab those 7 houses and officially put them into Greene County, where everybody's thought they were and where they've been paying taxes for the last 20-plus years.
Has Greene County taken any action on this, or do they need to take action?
They have it on their agenda this evening as well.
Oh, okay, okay. I assume they're supportive of this as far as we know.
Well, Greene County actually spent the money to do the survey. I mean, it hasn't cost us anything. Greene has spent done the legwork of getting a survey done and paid for that survey and done all of the heavy lifting here for what they view as their citizens, or people that believe them to be their citizens.
Any questions of Mr. Latchney? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone signed up to speak for this public hearing?
Mr. Chairman.
Close that public hearing. Okay, once again.
Make a motion to authorize a boundary line adjustment between Greene County and Orange County.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Crozier,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Frame,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
and Mr. Goodwin.
Aye.
5-0.
Okay. All right, public hearing number 3, through truck restriction on Rapidan Road. Mr. Saunders of VDOT, I think, is going to give us a little bit of background in terms of the process and regulations and the like. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Chairman White, members of the board, good evening. In preparation for tonight's public hearing relative to the proposed through truck restrictions on Rapidan Road, I wanted to provide a brief overview of the Commonwealth Transportation Board's guidelines and frequently asked questions. And for future reference, both documents are posted on VDOT's public website. From the guidelines for considering requests to restrict through trucks on primary and secondary highways, Section 46.2809 of the Code of Virginia provides that the Commonwealth Transportation Board or its designee, in response to a formal request by a local governing body, after such body has held public hearings, may, after due notice and proper hearing, prohibit or restrict the use by through traffic of any part of a primary or secondary highway if a reasonable alternate route is provided. The board or its designee shall act upon any such formal request within 9 months of receipt unless good cause is shown. From the frequently asked questions on VDOT's website for the through truck restriction program, first, how does the program work? The through truck restriction program allows a local governing body to request that VDOT restrict the use of through trucks on any part of a primary or secondary highway that is under the jurisdiction of VDOT if a reasonable alternate route is provided. The program again is governed by the Code of Virginia. What is a through truck? For the purposes of through truck restrictions, a through truck is defined as any truck or truck and trailer or semi-trailer combination except a pickup or panel truck that travels from one point to another and having no origin or destination along the route's travel. Third question, how is a request for a restriction evaluated? The local governing body must hold a public hearing and make a formal request, including the submittal of a resolution to VDOT. VDOT evaluates requests in accordance with the through truck restriction guidelines, which lays out the requirements that must be met in making the request, as well as criterion for evaluating the appropriateness of the proposed restriction. The criterion consider the reasonableness of the alternate route and the compatibility of truck traffic with the type of roadway and the character of the affected area. VDOT also solicits and considers public comment on the proposed restriction. From this point, VDOT has 9 months to respond to the formal request. VDOT evaluates and considers the request. We will conduct an engineering study. We'll solicit public comments from the proposed restriction. For secondary routes, the Commissioner of Highways approves or denies the request, and VDOT will then notify the local governing body of the decision. And thank you, Chairman White. That's all I have, and I'm ready. Answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, just one jurisdictional question to clarify it. I believe the road in question tonight actually is involved in 3 different jurisdictions. Culpeper County obviously has a slice of it, Orange has a slice, and it turns out that I suppose the town of Orange actually has jurisdiction over a piece. Is that your understanding as well?
There's 2 different elements that we're discussing. First is the restricted segment and the termini of that restricted segment. The second is the alternate route that VDOT would then study in lieu of the restricted section.
Okay.
So the alternate route does indeed include routes in Culpeper, Orange counties, and the town of Orange. The restricted route itself, as proposed, is the route of the section of 615 east of the town limits of the town of Orange to Route 673 at the Rapidan River.
Okay, so
Did I explain that correctly?
I just, the real question is the
Mouthful.
subject of tonight's public hearing with respect to this body is only the segment in Orange County. And
Yes, sir.
And can only be. Is that,
Yes,
is
sir.
that your guidance? Okay. All right.
Does the other jurisdictions, given that we are including routes that include those other jurisdictions, do they have to approve it as well?
During the public comment period that VDOT will perform in their study, we will seek input from all of the jurisdictions and the affected citizens and customers along those routes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Saunders?
What exactly is defined as a through truck versus a local truck?
A through truck is not a truck that has a local point of origin or destination along the affected route. So that the frequently answered questions goes a little bit further, frequently asked, frequently answered. A through truck is defined as any truck or truck and trailer or semi-trailer combination except a pickup or panel truck that travels from one point to another and having no origin or destination along the route's travel.
Which would include the entire section of the road?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that definition is not jurisdictional. It's really a definition of the entire route. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Are you going to remain with us in case we have follow-ups later in the
Yes, sir,
process?
I sure will.
All right. Thank you. Okay. We ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll open the public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up for this public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, we do. We currently have 26 speakers.
Okay.
Also, to reflect in the record, we did receive 4 written comments prior to the public hearing, which have been provided to you. The first from David Leyland. Second from Carrie Holiday. Third from a representative of among contracting and Cedar Mountain Stone. And the fourth from Bruce and Gwen Katie.
Okay.
And those will be reflected in the record.
Okay,
The first speaker with us this evening is Christopher Hawk, and he is speaking on behalf of the Piedmont Environmental Council.
okay. I'll remind you, we'd like for you to come up to the front because this record will be provided to VDOT. It's part of their deliberations. It is being videoed, and so please speak loudly and clearly and stand there. Also, with the number of speakers, we're going to be fairly strict about the 3-minute time limit, so please focus your comments, keep them on the topic at hand, and the floor is yours. And the clock has started.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Hawk. I would like to formally introduce myself to both the board and the public as the newly appointed land use representative for the Piedmont Environmental Council. On behalf of PEC, we issue a strong support for the request that the Commonwealth Transportation Board prohibit through truck traffic on Rapidan Road between the town of Orange and the Rapidan River near the Orange-Culpeper boundary. Our support is based upon the historic, scenic, and public safety benefits that will arise from this change. This stretch of Route 615 is a listed scenic byway of Virginia, meaning it provides important historic and scenic values resulting in diverse experiences for motorists. It connects the town of Culpeper to the town of Rapidan, or the town of Orange to the town of Rapidan, and includes the following 4 items: the Rapidan River, vital in our tourism, the Rapidan Historic District, multiple properties on the National Register of Historic Places, and over 20 parcels under conservation easement in close proximity. Each of these features are key to the county's current and future economy, our rural character, and tourism. The removal of commercial through trucks will promote health, safety, and public welfare, as Route 615 is a narrow 2-lane road with minimal shoulders and rolling hills. PEC has heard from multiple area residents that through truck traffic has become increasingly alarming at this time. Besides general complaints of excessive speed and a recent increase in the volume of truck traffic, neighboring property owners have also complained about the associated noise. Given the historic nature of this area, the roadway's listing as a scenic byway, and the need to protect the community from the negative effects of through truck traffic, PEC supports the board's request to the Commonwealth Transportation Board. Thank you for giving PEC the opportunity to weigh on this matter and for your dedication to both the county and public welfare.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Carol Hallman, resident of Orange.
Excuse me. On November the 12th, 2018, in Albemarle County, a loaded dump truck went off a 2-lane road, flipped his truck to avoid 3 cars stopped for a school bus. He was later charged with reckless driving. This is the sort of thing that some of us feel could happen on Rapidan Road. You know, thankfully it has not. And on that day, he didn't kill anybody, so that, you know, was a good thing. In the fall, there were at least 2 truck accidents on Rapidan Road. Many of us who drive that route have been squeezed on the curve of the Rapidan River Bridge, watch trucks frequently cross the center line, and often speed when empty. My observation is when the trucks are loaded, they would have a hard time trying to speed. In 2017, the school superintendent's deputy appeared before the Orange Town Council to request that dump trucks stay off of Selma. The Cedar Mountain Quarry trucks, which originate in Culpeper County and outside the Orange corporate limit, have access to Route 649 to Route 15, where they have a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit and a straight road into Orange. It almost seems as if the Board of Supervisors needs some sort of calamity to take this as far as it needs to go. And the comprehensive plan, which hopefully will sustain the rural character of Orange County, seems in jeopardy to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Rebecca Pismont, 7084 Piedmont Drive.
Good evening. My concern with the current level of truck traffic isn't, it's increased over the past 2 years that I've noticed, but we're having more trucks that seem to have no purpose to be on Rapidan Road. I don't understand, if we have no logging going on in the general area, why do we have logging trucks going, they're using Rapidan Road? It seems to me it's just become an easy fix for the drivers with vehicles that are questionable, maybe overweight, not inspectable. They're using Rapidan Road rather than Route 15, because Route 15 is patrolled fairly regularly. You see state police along 15 where gravel trucks exit the quarry. There's nothing on Rapidan Road, so we're getting not only the gravel trucks, which at least in my mind have a purpose for being there, as they've originated on Cedar Mountain Quarry, but these trucks seem to have no purpose. I've seen 4 logging trucks in the past week, yet none of our neighbors have property that's being logged. It seems odd. And there seems to be no oversight as to, and they can't, no matter how hard they try, if they get going 50 miles an hour in the 55, they can't slow down in a reasonable, these vehicles are big, they're overloaded probably as they are. I think that's why they're using Rapidan Road, it's become a cutoff. It's just not safe. They're going to hit a person, the shoulders are, there are no shoulders in parts. There are people, cows, horses. I mean, one of the things people like about Orange County is they can look out and see cattle, see horses grazing. God forbid one of them gets loose, and horses and cows do that on a regular basis. These trucks can't stop, and there are trees. We've had a couple incidents this year where there are trees down and these trucks can't stop. They're crushing down trees because they just cannot stop fast enough. Seems to be no purpose for them to be here.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Alexander Stump, 15413 Sedley Lodge.
Good evening, thank you for your time. I've lived on the Rapidan Road I've driven the Rapidan Road for 48 years. The truck traffic has picked up significantly, but as a longtime farmer and a full-time farmer, I will tell you that the trucks, even the big gravel trucks, show a lot more respect for farm vehicles on that road than do regular passenger vehicles. It is true that a lot of these guys seem to think that the yellow line is supposed to bisect their body instead of staying on the other side, but it's a shame to penalize everybody for a few bad apples, but such is the case. Also, historically, the Board of Supervisors has very rarely seen a development project you guys don't like to support, and you need to realize what this is going to do to the price of gravel and the price of concrete, since both of those plants are in Culpeper. Also, I was looking at your prospectus here where it stops at the Culpeper County line. One thing I think really need to take into account is if these trucks come down 615 and then turn on to 614 to go to Locust Dale, that stretch of road from Rapidan to the Robinson River, if you start putting trucks over there because you cut them off of 615, is going to make that the most dangerous road in the state of Virginia. That road really is not wide enough for 2 cars, and you start putting gravel trucks on there as a cut through, you're going to create more problems than you're going to solve, in my opinion. Other than that, I would like to see some of the trucks taken off the Rapidan Road, but I don't want to cut off my nose to spite my face and take other things into account, such as pricing and safety of other people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Cynthia Pipes Johnson, 7075 Rapidan Road.
Good evening. I'm here again to talk about the place that I love, Rapidan. Rapidan is a national historic district which is listed on Virginia Landmark Register and the National Register of Historic Places. There are 2 other buildings, the Presbyterian Church and the old schoolhouse, that are also National Historic Places. Route 615 is a winding, beautiful roadway that is a Virginia scenic byway. Only two are, scenic byways are in orange. And yet, I am seeing trucks like from Walmart and Target on this little winding road. Just yesterday, my husband and I were on the way to Orange and saw a gravel truck taking up both lanes of the road coming through Harlow's Woods. On the return trip home, we were behind two gravel trucks leaving Orange, where it's 25 miles an hour, and as soon as the speed limit got to 45 around Yatton's Curve, those trucks were gone. They were not driving the 45 miles an hour that they're supposed to be. So these are just 3 examples from yesterday. So every time I come here to talk, I have got at least 2 or 3 examples that I see driving to and from work every day. The professional drivers are not driving in a professional way. Now I will say, I'm not talking about every professional driver that's a truck driver, but many are not following that 45 miles per hour speed limit. Sheriff Amos has always been quick to respond. Their deputies are out there. The Virginia State Police are out there. I really think that one of the problems is that if you want to report a truck, the plates are so dirty that you can't read them. So they have like this anonymous way to just travel, and you can't even report them because the license are, in my opinion, in my experience, are always very dirty. And of course I have pictures if you'd like. So I'm here tonight to ask the Board of Supervisors to please move forward with the formal request to the Commonwealth Transportation Board for a study to be done regarding the type of traffic that is using Route 615. It seems to me that there is industrial through traffic on that part of the road. A study with data would let us know exactly what is happening on that road. Route 615 is an Orange County treasure, and I hope that we can all work together to figure out the best way to keep it that way. Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Next speakers are Larry Jenkins and Marcia Jenkins, 9538 Rapidan Road.
I'm Larry Jenkins from Orange, Virginia. I've been living here 72 years. I was born here. We live on Rapidan Road, 3 miles on 615. We have a big problem with the traffic. Traffic is 10 times what it was 5 years ago. We're having a problem. I'm not against anyone's livelihood, but I'm against trucks being in the middle of the road, running me off the road. I had a truck today over the line. I had to get to the shoulder. I probably would have been dead today. And I gave him the get over sign, and he gave me a gesture I can't present here. But and the speed, you know, when they're empty, when they're coming up out, we live 3 miles. When they come up the grade, they can't go with so fast. But when they're coming back empty, they're just out of control. But not only trucks, the cars are too. They're speeding. Everybody's speeding on Rapidan Road, and they're running 45. They're running 55, 60 miles an hour on a road that's not capable of carrying these wide vehicles. They're extended. You know, my trailer is 102 inches. When we go up the road, we're 6 inches from the yellow line, 6 inches from the shoulder. The trucks are much wider than that. They don't have much choice but ride the line, but there shouldn't be danger to people's lives crossing over the line, which a lot of them are doing. And I'm, like I said, I'm not against anyone's livelihood. I hope you decide to do something here that's right for everyone. I'd like to present my wife, Marcia, who had a wreck, didn't have a wreck, but could have been a serious wreck.
A truck coming from the town of Orange toward, I was leaving our farm and had not gone 100 yards before this truck came around the corner. It was on my side of the road. I was hauling the horse trailer, and I'm very conscious of watching where the wheels of that truck, of my trailer are, right on the edge of the road. And the truck missed me but hit the horse trailer, and he never stopped. He just kept on going. And so I had a dent in the fender and scratches on the tire. It's going through there, but it didn't hurt anything. And also, I've lived on that road for 40 years and I've had a number of friends have said to me, you know, I used to love riding down Rapidan Road, but not anymore. Now you take your life in your hands to ride down it. It's supposed to be a scenic road, not a commercial highway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is, excuse me, Doc Garnett, 7271 Old Rapidan Road.
It's not my whole speech. Good evening. I live in Rapidan. I've lived in Rapidan. I'm a newcomer. I've only lived there 25 years. My wife and I and son live on the old Rapidan Road, about 4/10 of a mile from the Rapidan Road, Route 615, the road in question. I'd just like to start with a brief history lesson. Many of you know that Virginia's secondary road system was established by act of the General Assembly in 1932 via the Byrd Act. Its stated purpose then was to facilitate facilitate commerce, commercial transportation. That is, the transportation of goods and produce and raw materials to market. That is still the purpose of it. That's still the reason we dedicate our tax money to the maintenance of that road. It is not dedicated to sightseeing, pedestrians, or the quietude of those who choose to live alongside of it. Thus, the primary purpose of Route 615, which is my point, is commercial transportation, moving goods, produce, and raw materials to market. Truckers pay more per capita and per vehicle in road taxes than the rest of us. So it seems to me it makes perfect sense that the road should remain open to those for whose commercial purposes the road was originally and mainly intended, and for those who pay the most to maintain it. The gentleman from VDOT said that one of the considerations is that the rerouting should be reasonable. I would submit to you that redirecting these trucks on a route that is twice as long in distance and time through similar neighborhoods, plus adding to congestion in downtown Orange, is not a reasonable alternative route. And finally, I'd like for you to consider the damage, financial damage to individual truckers who are paid by the load and miles, who have to drive twice as far, twice as long, and therefore get in fewer loads in a given length of time. I calculate most of these truckers on that route would lose at least one load a day. That's a loss of gross revenue of about $400 per day, minimum. That's just one trip. Times the number of days in a week that they're working, times months, times years, it really adds up. And times all the trucks that are doing, and you're hurting a lot of families and the community if we approve this measure, this proposal. Therefore, I urge you to please vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Tammy Collins, Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I am here today on behalf of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce to oppose the through truck restriction on Rapidan Road. In my experience, both personally and professionally, industries that may not be aesthetically pleasing or look cute in a storefront are frowned upon and do not typically get the support of the aforementioned due, especially from the public. And while they may seem undesirable or cumbersome, they have every right to conduct business. Interfering with the established travel route of the Rapidan area that has been utilized for decades is not conducive to or favorable business practices. You cannot regulate commerce. You cannot justify the significant loss of income or millions of dollars of revenue. While there have been concerns raised that are legitimate about safety concerns, there are hundreds of other significantly more dangerous roads within Orange County that would warrant this hearing. Actually, conducting business on that road, while I believe is outside of the through traffic. This does not affect the historical integrity and does not qualify according to the through traffic guidelines that the gentleman from VDOT mentioned. So it is with that I ask you that you please do not hinder the commerce in Orange County and deny the through truck restriction on Rapidan Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Tracy Laughlin, resident of Rapidan.
My name's Tracy Laughlin. I'm a resident of Rapidan, and I work full-time from home for a K-12 education nonprofit. The Orange County section of 615 is a designated Virginia byway. As someone already said, one of two in the county. The village of Rapidan is a historic district including over 25 recognized historic structures with Civil War and other significance. Approximately 20 Rapidan families live in houses close to the road, so that's as many driveways that residents are turning in and out of, as well as the congregations of the 3 historic churches in Rapidan. Notwithstanding the noise and exhaust pollution caused by speeding trucks that negatively impact the quality of life for both the residents of Rapidan and Lower East Main and Orange, we're talking about a public safety issue for everyone who uses Route 615, as many have said. We have asked for several years for VDOT and county officials to look into providing traffic calming measures to no avail. We know that whenever law enforcement is out in Rapidan, the trucks stop coming through. The minute the police presence is gone, they start right back up, speeding through at excessive speeds. If the trucks are using this road and going the speed limit in our neighborhood, why would they stop coming through when the police are there? We don't understand why it will have to take a fatality for the county and VDOT to take this matter seriously and respect the fact that we live here. We feel like the county is privileging Culpeper businesses over the safety concerns of Orange County citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Virginia Stanley, 247 Washington.
Thank you for having this hearing. My name is Virginia Stanley and I live in the town of Orange. Some years ago, at the request of the Rapidan Foundation, Route 615 from Orange into the village of Rapidan was designated as a scenic byway because the state of Virginia recognized the need to preserve its unique value as a quiet road for residents and visitors to travel and enjoy the beauty of the countryside. I grew up in Rapidan, and my husband and I raised our children at our home on Rapidan Road. It was safe then to walk and to ride bicycles along the road, and a lot of people of all ages turned out to participate in 5K runs from Orange to Rapidan. Some time ago, the speed limit from Route 700 to the town line was lowered to 45, which was good. But those who walk or run along Route 615 still take their life in their hands because of the heavy truck traffic. I still have family with young children and a lot of friends in Rapidan. My church is there too. And there's a sign on the road there that says, "Drive as if your children lived here." I believe that restricting and rerouting that heavy truck traffic would fall well within the guidelines for consideration by the Commonwealth Transportation Board, as stated in last week's Orange Review, to promote, and I quote, "to promote the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the Commonwealth, and the frequency and character of the through trucks is not compatible with the affected area." Route 615 is a beautiful local county road that's meant to convey a sense of peace and safety, and not anxiety. It's a state treasure that's well worth preserving. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Kenneth Yount, 11174 St. Just Road.
How y'all doing? I'm here on behalf of the truckers, and I'm talking about the story. Rapidan Mill, I'm 60 years old, been there since I've been there. Run trucks over there for years. Cedar Mountain's been there before I was born. Run trucks through there. And the only thing we doing here by doing that is hurting the poor man. Them boys over there run, there's 40 trucks over there every day. They run out of that quarry. Them boys get paid by the load. If you reroute them, the gentleman said it would be 1 load a day, they would lose 2 loads a day. You taking food off that table, and you're taking food off the table for the people who lives on this side of the county. Because if you reroute them, the stone will go up 30 to 40 possibly $50 a load just to get a load of stone. And that don't sound like much to us, people that has money. But for a person that's working at Hardee's and the other one is working at a filling station and living from paycheck to paycheck, that $40 means a lot. You know, and another thing, it's been a lot that I was gonna speak on, that's already have been speak on. But since 2018 of January until February of 26 of 19 of this year, it's been 110 tickets issued at Rapidan on the Orange County side. Not one of them was a truck, not one. And as far as the kids, I have grandchildren, I love them dearly. And I don't care what road you live on, the first thing you teach them is not to play in it. And that's about the extent of what I got to say.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Jeff Holsinger, 150 South Almond Street.
Good evening. Unlike a lot of the folks here tonight, I am literally a newcomer. Been here less than a year. I've enjoyed my time here. The reason I'm here is I work for Cedar Mountain Stone and Shimon Contracting. And I want to call your attention again to the document that was sent to you all earlier in writing to highlight the points that Mr. Dalrymple wanted you all to know about our company and the business that we conduct. I know all of you are very well versed in that, but it was worth mentioning again. Something that needs to be mentioned as well, we do not allow trucks to leave the quarry overloaded. It's just not allowed. A truck pulls on the scale, they have a legal load limit that's determined by the state, not us. Those trucks are measured and weighed empty so that we know what that is allowed to be put on that truck. They come up overloaded, they go back and dump. It's simple. The speed limit on this section of road, a significant portion is 45, as it has been mentioned tonight. But for the trucks, it's 45 the entire length. And what I've witnessed, because I drive it every day to and from the quarry, the cars are the ones that are getting jumpy. The cars and the pickups behind those dump trucks are the ones that are itching. The minute I get through Rapidan in the morning and we hit that little 45 right there past the Presbyterian Church, they're gone. They're headed on to Route 522 and they're gone. I have a trouble even seeing them by the time I get to the quarry. I need to point out too the economic impact. Kenneth, he mentioned the effect on a load of stone to just the working folks. It's also going to impact almost 300 jobs, as is pointed out in that document that Mr. Dalrymple sent you. Many of those people work in Orange County. They pay taxes in Orange County, and it's a shame to take advantage of them as well. I know the goal for the folks that are against that truck traffic on that road is to reduce the truck traffic there. What they're going to do, because of the loads lost, the work will still need to be done. They're actually going to increase the need for more trucks on other routes because there's still a certain amount of work to be done. And it can't be done if we're losing a load or two a day. So you're really just transferring the burden somewhere else, and that's not fair to those folks either. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ash Laughlin, resident of Rapidan.
Glasses out here. Good evening, Chairman White and Board of Supervisors. Firstly, I'd like to commend the board for taking up this referendum to end heavy industrial commercial truck traffic on Rapidan Road and East Main Street here in Orange County. I've been working on this issue with equally concerned citizens for nearly 3 years. We have met on numerous occasions with the Town of Orange, Board of Supervisors in Orange and Culpeper counties, state and local law enforcement in both municipalities, as well as both precincts of VDOT in Culpeper and Orange County. In 1 day's time, I personally counted a caravan of over 200 heavy industrial trucks traveling directly in front of my home. This very day, well over 50 trucks passed in front of my house over 50 trucks today. I stopped counting because I didn't have time to continue counting. I'm afraid that this is but a harbinger of what is becoming an ever-increasing norm. Industrial and commercial trucks have created hugely unsafe driving conditions on our roads while pumping noxious pollutants into our air and filling our ears with intolerable noise. Trucks are destroying the character and peaceful enjoyment of our properties, as well as our property values in the historic village of Rapidan and town of Orange by turning both into an industrial corridor. We have seen a tremendous uptick in industrial traffic. This used to be a quarry. This is now a full-blown road construction company that also builds airports. There is no end to what they can accomplish or what they can do on this road. We see 200 a day now. Perhaps we'll see 400 a day, 500 a day. Who's to say? We have to put some sort of curtailment on this. The fact of the matter is that Rapidan Road and East Main Street were never conceived of nor engineered for this level of modern heavy industrial traffic. There are numerous cases of trucks' unsafe driving practices which have resulted in crashes and untold close calls. The most recent example being a fully loaded hot asphalt carrier careening through a guardrail in the middle of the village of Rapidan. This truck had to be towed out of the embankment. This is unacceptable. Right in the middle of Rapidan, a truck went directly through that barricade, bashed through it and down that embankment. The argument that there, the argument that there have been no tickets issued to dump trucks in Rapidan, therefore there is no problem, is disingenuous at best. We all know that as soon as law enforcement is spotted, trucks simply radio each other as to their presence and either stop traveling that road or go somewhere else. If we think this problem will go away on its own accord, we are sadly mistaken. I am convinced that what we are witnessing is just the beginning of what will become an ever-increasing problem unless we act now. There are safe alternative routes which were built to accommodate these types of vehicles. These roads fall well within the guidelines established by the Virginia Transportation Board, and that is what we would like to see happen.
Your time is up, so
Okay.
wrap it up.
Thank you again, Board. Appreciate it.
Next speaker is Grant Christie, resident of Rapidan.
Good evening, my name's Grant Chrissy, I'm a resident of Rapidan. Based upon my views, which are contrary to the views of a lot of the other people here tonight, including my wife, I may lose a few votes in the next Rapidan mayoral election. And of course, I say that in jest, as you well know, but I think what's really important is that the board listens to all the views and really how it impacts their decisions it will have on the greater community that we live in. First of all, I would like to thank my friends and neighbors who have put in a lot of effort to reduce the speed of all vehicles moving through Rapidan, and I will continue to applaud and support further efforts to do so. I would also like to acknowledge the efforts of local law enforcement in handing out citations to those who do speed and break the law. My opinion diverges from here. I am all for efforts to slow traffic to the posted speed limits, but I am not for restricting any type of certain types of traffic on 615. My home is probably closer to 615 than anybody else in this room, and I'm probably outside more than anybody else in this room because I spend a lot of my time out on and near the road. Do I like the traffic? No, I don't, but I understand and accept it differently than others. The quarries to the north of town have been here a lot longer than I, and they will be here a lot longer after my final move. They provide a lot of jobs for the people who live here. They are great neighbors and are avid supporters of community activities. To divert the quarry trucks and other trucks away from 615 drives up their operating expenses. And as one of my neighbors, Sandy, said, referred to earlier about the cost of concrete and gravel growing up, and what Doc, my other neighbor, said about the cost and the impact on the community. But all they're looking at doing is pushing these onto other roads and driving in front of other people's homes. A truck running through your neighborhood may not be directly benefiting you, but it is benefiting others. A truck running through another neighborhood may not be directly benefiting the people who live there, but they may be benefiting you. The words that come to my mind are tolerance, empathy, benefits to all, and selfish interests. We have been and will continue to be inconvenienced by traffic or actions by others that will or will not directly benefit us. Trucks are hugely important to our commerce, and they must travel on most roads in our country. I often wonder how the people who are opposing the current truck traffic on 615 would have felt when the Rapidan Mill was in operation and the community was bustling. It is my belief that the efforts to outlaw truck traffic on 615 is just another example of self-entitlement and how people want to pass on their inconveniences to others. If the trucks aren't traveling on 615, they will be driving down another road in front of other people's homes. I often wonder what will be next. Agricultural trucks, tractors, trucks pulling hay. We lived here when the work was being done at Cho, and there were a lot of trucks going through it, but I understand it's important to the greater good and economic impact of our area. I drive the roads here as much as anyone and have had few, if any, concerns about my personal safety involving trucks. To reiterate the comments by Mr. Dalrymple of Cedar Mountain Stone, I am much more concerned about the distracted drivers texting and using their cell phones. Some truck
Mr.
drivers
Chrissy,
follow, I'm sorry.
Your time's expired.
I'm sorry,
sir.
pardon me, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Resident of Orange. Henry Lee Carter.
I'm gonna reduce the speakers to 25.
Next speaker is Wells Waugh, 5125 Bushy Mountain Road.
Good evening, board. I think most of y'all know who I am. Just wanted to, my concern is safety for trucks on 615 and safety for everybody. I'm 58 years old, I was born here. Believe it or not, in the 4th and 5th grade, you used to go to get Rapidan as a field trip from school to see the trucks, to see the industry there. You had Lewis Panel and the excavating business. It's always been trucks. You've had the quarries there. But my concern for trucks and safety on 615 is the speed limit in Rapidan is 25 miles an hour when you get in the village of Rapidan. We buy permits for weight for logging trucks and agricultural trucks. We pay money for those permits. I can legally haul 90,000 pounds down 615 7 days a week. I have a permit to do that. But the danger is when you're entering Rapidan community and it's a 25 mile an hour speed limit. You're going down probably a 12% grade. You're using your Jake brake to create noise. You're riding your brakes. If you have a airline to break or something to go wrong, you're headed to a 90-degree curve, 90 degrees. If you would allow trucks to run 35 miles an hour in that area, it would be much safer. Coming up the hill, if I want to come from Culpeper with a load of logs, coming to Orange, I think it's our right. We pay heavy use tax. I think the license on each one of my road tractors is about $2,200 a year. That's probably more than any citizens with an average car pay on taxes. But I have to come around that curve and proceed that hill and maintain a 25 mile an hour speed limit. And if you're pulling that hill with a load and you miss a gear on the high side transmission, have to go to the low side, you're subject, the people behind you are in various part danger. So my recommendation for the county and VDOT is to raise the speed limit to 35 in that area and put the truck traffic back to 55 so everybody can run together. Because I can tell you as many times I've been down Rapidan Road in a truck, as soon as you get past Sandy Stone's place, up on that knoll, there's the motorists in the cars are zipping around you. It's a double line. So I think for the safety for everybody, I think the truck traffic should be the same as the car traffic through the whole part of Rapidan Road and through the town of Rapidan. We need it to 35. Thank you.
Next speaker is Brent Spitzer. Next speaker is Kent Higginbotham, 150 Blue Ridge Drive.
Ken Higginbotham, 150 Blue Ridge Drive. First of all, I'm gonna speak for Georgia Stone Industries. They were trying to come tonight and had a Canadian customer come in early, and so they had to do some business. But that's a 10 million plus annual sales, and those trucks, they'll go both directions. They'll go to Culpeper, but they'll come through here, go to Newport News, and they wanted me to convey to you that'd be a hardship on their business. I've heard a lot of people talk about public safety. When I was on town council, we put sidewalks down, I guess down Main Street there, and they're about 10 or 15 feet off in one section there. And you know, if there is a safety issue, we ought to look at widening the road. That's what we ought to be looking at. I'd like to repeat Doc's comments on the purpose of the road is commerce, period. And back on the mill, what Wells was talking about, I remember going to the mill too, a school trip, and that was an industry then. That's what every farmer came. There would be 15, 20 trucks lined up all the time to dumping and getting grain. And Lord help us if that business was still in play. Back to Cedar Mountain, I mean, the irony is Cedar Mountain has probably saved y'all $1 million on your job that you're building out there at the airport right now. That's the truth. They've got product, and trucks are hauling that in there because you had bad material. So you hauled your bad material off. They've got some of the best fill material in the country. And if you didn't have that, you would not be doing that project. That's the truth. And I want to thank y'all for doing the S.L. Williamson's, the Aqua Fault job at the industrial park, putting that together. Great asset, super asset for everybody. But we don't want to destroy our economy, and that's what this would do. Before there was a CDL, I used to run that road, and I've had a CDL whenever they started them, and you know, and we didn't have really great trucks, but to Wells' comments, the speed limits are too low. The 25 is ridiculous. When you come around the curve, coming into Orange, and maintain 25, it's like a dead stop getting up the hill to come into town. So Wells must have a little higher horsepower trucks. I got to drop into the low side, and I'm just screaming trying to come up the hill. Where when it was 35, you could kind of cruise on up the hill. And so, and then back to Jeff's comments again, which I really don't like it. If you're 300 pounds over, they make you turn around and go back and dump. You can't get out of the quarry. And or 100 pounds over. So the comments, the trucks aren't overloaded. The state of Virginia regulates all of that, and they come out legal. And I know that because we've had to go back and dump. And back to safety, we had a DOT inspection on Rapidan Road, I think about 4 weeks ago. So there are safety. DOT is out there, and I can attest to that. We didn't have a fine either. We passed.
Your time's expired.
Well, I was speaking for 2, so I was thinking I could get an extra minute.
I'll give you a few more seconds. Go ahead.
Well, it's all about the economy, and don't destroy our economy. I mean, it's my economy. We've 4 or 5 generations here. Every dollar we invest back into the town, and this would be horrendous for us. It would really be horrendous, and I guess that's just it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is John Bensko, resident of Rapidan.
Well, I spoke at the earlier meeting, but I'd just like to say that this is really about balance. I mean, yes, there's the mill there that was there. I mean, my wife's grandfather owned that mill. And, you know, 5-10 years ago, there was truck traffic, but it was in balance. There was a balance between the rights of the residents, you know, your ability to live peacefully on your property, to drive safely down the road. And now there's no balance. The trucks have taken over. They have really made that a very dangerous road. I mean, yesterday I was coming back from Orange. One of those trucks came over the hill toward me, over the line, tried to correct, get back into his own lane. The thing started swerving like that. I mean, the top of the truck was going like, it was one of those life passing in front of your eyes kind of experiences. And, it's just gotten out of balance. And it's not about blocking trucks, it's about rerouting trucks. And to say that it's gonna, be a disaster, I think these are exaggerations. It's not going to be a disaster. It may cost a little bit more, may take a little more time, but it's not going to be a disaster to reroute those trucks. It is going to be a disaster when people start getting killed. It is going to be a disaster, when it just, gets to where the number of trucks just ruins the nature of the area. I thought Orange County was trying to balance between commerce and other things, not shove it all in one direction, but balance it and take this part of the county and focus one way, take another part of the county and focus another way, and balance things. And I think that this proposal helps to balance things. And I think it, therefore I support it.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Andrew Campbell, resident of Culpeper.
Good evening. Being the 20th something speaker will be cognizant of your time here, but live in Culpeper. We have a business in Rapidan. We depend on the truck traffic that goes through there daily. Our employees depend on that, just like all the other hundreds of employees in that area. So appreciate your consideration in opposing any change in the existing traffic laws. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Randall Rhodes.
Good evening, board. I have to clarify something. One fellow said, you live close to the Rapidan Road?
You live closer, Randall. Yes,
I
you
live
do.
closer.
I didn't see you.
I wake up every morning, except for Sundays, to the noise of jake brakes coming through Rapidan to stage for that day's events, which could be running concrete that day, running asphalt that day. And I'm not up here to get on any of the county and local drivers. It's these fleets of trucks that's coming from Zions Crossroads or other places. Our local boys, they respect us here in Rapidan. Moved into Rapidan 9 years ago because I had the opportunity to be the caretaker of the Rapidan train station. Oldest place in the state of Virginia is what Rapidan is almost known as. We have history. We have character. We have an image to upkeep. But when I wake up every morning, after the trucks wake me up, and after that day's event, on a good day, a nice little fog comes across Rapidan. It's not from the river. It's from the asphalt trucks coming through our community. And we do have a speed limit problem in Rapidan. To raise it would be like idiots. Because I've seen cars in my next door neighbor's yard upside down, 3 of them, in the last 9 years, at 25 miles an hour. Does this sound like we need to increase the speed? See, I'm from Culpeper. I lived on the Rapidan Road for 12 years before I moved to Culpeper County. I've spoken with all the supervisors in Culpeper. They ain't gonna do a damn thing about it because this would economically impact them really bad. Now, I called and spoke to my supervisor, Mr. Frazier, who is right now just had some surgery done. He couldn't make it here tonight. But he said, whatever happens here in this board tonight, y'all can pass it, it'll be sent to the CTV. Well, it ain't gonna stop there, because it's gonna take more. We're gonna have to go to the state level to have anything done with Rapidan Road. But tonight would be a night for y'all to start the progress for the Rapidan residents in Orange County, because it is needed. I have friends that talked here tonight, which this is like a double-edged sword to me. Some of my best friends are truck drivers. Some of my best friends in the room. But it has turned my life and my wife's life into a damn nightmare with these trucks. Since this place is operating underneath of a concrete factory, a gravel company, and an asphalt company. And yes, every time I call the sheriff's department, by the time they get there to get some of the guys running wide open, all it takes is a radio, all it takes is a cell phone, and everything stops. Well, I hope tonight y'all make the right decision and help out the citizens of Orange County. I live in Culpeper. Culpeper ain't gonna do a damn thing about it. Blow smoke up your ass, that's all they do in Culpeper.
Mr. Rhodes, your time's expired.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Will Reams.
I'm sorry, say again?
Will Reams, 10187 Laurel Ridge Lane.
My name is Will Reams, and I'm the road crop manager for Glenberry Farm located on River Road in Rapidan, Virginia. We produce grain, cattle, and poultry, and we transport a lot of product along the road, as the route being discussed tonight. And the restriction of through traffic along this proposed route would adversely affect the economics of our operation. And I'd like to simply state that I think that there's been some good ideas tonight in terms of road width adjustment, shoulder development, and speed limit adjustment and enforcement. There could be alternatives to closing down through traffic on this route, and I think they should be considered. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Hunter Hemp, resident of Orange.
Thank you all, Hunter Hemp. I just wanted to reiterate the topic of the meeting, that it's through traffic that we're considering here. And Cedar Mountain Stone and Georgia Stone and the asphalt plant and all originates on that road. So that would not be considered through traffic. Truck drivers have every right to ride on that Virginia byway as much as anybody else does. And I certainly hope that nobody in the room needs a load of stone on their piece of property, and to, you know, hear comments about how it devalues property and things such as that. I hope you don't need a load of stone, or need to get your driveway paved, or need to get some clearing done, or have some logs hauled off, because the truck's gonna have to come in there and take care of that. And I assure you, you know, early on in the meeting, there were some comments talking about how there's just random trucks riding up and down the road with no purpose. I assure you, as expensive as it is to operate a truck, that they're not riding up and down the road with no purpose. They're conducting business, believe me, because it is not cheap to operate a truck. And I drive a truck, and to say that trucks overloaded down that road coming out of the quarry is erroneous, and I just think it would be a detriment to the local economy. I mean, we have all the resources right there, and need to continue to tap into them and get them to us as quick as possible. And that's not to mention farming, which is a Virginia heritage around here. I mean, all the things it takes to keep a farm operating. So just would like to have you all take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Charles Salheimer.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. I'm Charles Seilheimer, and I reside at Mount Sharon Farm on Route 600, Mount Sharon Road. And we've heard a lot of things this evening, and I'm getting somewhat confused, because when we're talking about agriculture, I don't think there's any truck traffic coming or going from a farm, either delivering things that are needed by the farm or taking things from the farm, that would be affected by restricting truck traffic, as I understand it. Isn't that correct? From VDOT's point of view? I mean, anything that originates there or is going to a farm?
Anything with any vehicle with a point of destination or origin or
Right.
the travel routes.
Right. So they would still be able to go to a farm to deliver their product as what the farm needed, and they'd be able to take product from the farm and travel this road, delivering it somewhere else, right? Okay. As far as Cedar Mountain is concerned, I think that is a different story, because we're talking about this route in Orange County and what it does. And my understanding, and we've only been here for 24 years, but my understanding at the time that Cedar Mountain was reopened, there were comments made that don't seem to be brought out now, that there were other routes that those trucks were supposed to take. Now, I believe that routes 15 and 522 are roads that are much wider. They are supposed to be able to handle that sort of truck traffic that we're talking about here. I have been pushed off the Rapidan Road. I'm up and down there a lot, going to Washington and going up into Northern Virginia. And I have been pushed literally off the road by truck traffic, and basically it has been the gravel trucks. Now, when we moved here, yes, the quarries existed, but they were not open at that time. And when they reopened, it's been a whole different story. A lot of those trucks, and I counted the other day as I was enjoying good weather and outside working, I counted 8 trucks in 1 hour going across our little road, which, as anybody who knows, at least our gate seems to be the dividing point between a reasonably graded road heading to the south, and a pretty dangerous road going up and down, coming from the north. And to have that many gravel trucks on that road within a very short period of time is ridiculous.
Your time has expired, so if you've got a
My
final
time's
comment.
expired. Okay, my final comment is that I definitely hope that you will take the comments tonight very, very seriously, and that you will help the residents of Orange and of Rapidan in controlling truck traffic. And I think everyone here means well, but that there are a lot of people who are feeding information that is not necessarily correct as far as the restrictions, as far as the commerce that is going on, as far as how it would affect Orange. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Bob Wilbanks, 9140 Rapidan Road.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Bob Wilbanks. I live up Rapidan Road, about 3 miles from the left there, between Trimmers Road and Mount Sharon Road. I've lived here for 12 years. I raise cows and kids. Cows don't drive, but the kids do. And thank goodness that 110 tickets have been issued with one of my kids. I depend on trucks. No, sitting right over here probably brought me 15, 20 loads of rock this year. Guys aren't here that brought me 18-wheelers, 500 round bales on it this year. Both of them had a delivery on Rapidan Road. I've ridden that road for 12 years. I've never seen this fellow right here named Brent Spitzer doing anything except polite driving in a large truck. He's under the speed limit every time I see him, and that's not the case that we got out there now. Now, I'd like to invite you fellas to take a drive. You go around the curve in Rapidan Road, right in front of R.T. Whitman's place, and you'll see a set of skid marks. It's a dual wheel set of skid marks. It's one side, it's not both sides. And I was flashing a neighbor on the way to the John Deere place the other day. You need to take a wide piece of equipment in. I was in a pickup. We was headed south on the road. With a 45 zone, we meet two, following probably about 2 truck lengths behind each other, doing about 60 miles an hour in a 45. All right, guy trying to catch up with them, he rounds the curve. When he comes around the curve, he can't catch him. He's probably doing close to 70. We're flashing a wide piece of farm equipment. Neighbor's on a 7 Series tractor. I'm right in front of him. Not only am I flashing, he's flashing. I'm flashing headlights at this guy to slow him down. He throws on the brakes. When he hits the brakes, his right rear locks up. And y'all tell me, from a mechanical perspective, were his brakes functioning normally? We've got an enforcement issue here. If it's VDOT's road, let VDOT enforce it. Albemarle County has got 4 deputies dedicated to truck enforcement. They catch more people on brakes down there than they do speed. There's an infrared camera that can tell you if those brakes are working properly or not. It needs to be out there often, okay? We got children. They're important to us. I was gonna pass tonight because I got a lot of friends on both sides of this issue here, and I'd like to keep all of them. But we need some relief. Please help these people. Don't cut the trucker's throat. Make them behave themselves. Let them self-regulate. Folks at the quarry, you establish a phone line. These people aren't crazy. If these people see a trucker misbehaving, let them call that phone line. They call them once, they tell you what that trucker was doing, you warn him. Second time you put him on probation, he can't haul for 2 days. Okay? That'll make him behave himself. It takes care of it without Mark and his crew having to get out there. But please help these folks. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last speaker, just for the record, is Greg Marshall, who will be providing a written statement only that will be reflected in the record.
Okay. That's the last speaker. Okay. Close the public hearing. All right. I'll have a question for you,
Yes, sir.
if you will. I know VDOT has a classification system for all of their roads. I'm not an expert, but I know it starts with interstate and ends up with local or some such terminology as that. Could you give us a sort of a 1-minute overview of the classification systems and that's in place, and tell us a little bit about where 615 falls in that?
The functional classification that you speak of is established based on several factors. A lot of it involves the locality, it involves the type of roadway, the traffic that is on the roadway, and Rapidan Road itself is functionally classified as a major collector. So we've got a mix from rural, local rural, minor collector, major collector, all the way up to interstate systems. So it is classified as a major collector.
And is there a definition that you can give us of that? I mean, what does that mean? What purpose does that road serve as a major collector?
The primary criterion for functional classification is relative to Federal Highway Administration funding. The Federal Highway Administration defines those criterion, and it really is dependent, and as an example, Marquee Road was eligible for federal aid because it was a major collector as well. So it's really more geared towards Federal Highway Administration and how funds through formula allocations are attributed to the roadway. And its criterion are defined by the Federal Highway Administration.
All right.
Are when I call it a major collector, is there a certain width or shoulder length or shoulder criteria, any physical criteria associated with that?
No, it's predominantly based on
traffic?
It is predominantly based on traffic.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Actually, anybody have any other questions of Alan while we have him up here? Okay, gentlemen? comments or questions, first of all?
Well, I was the one that started this thing, so. And one of the things I want to make clear that I had told everyone in Rapidan when I met with them was I would never stop local truck traffic. And as far as I'm concerned, the Corps is off the table. I made that plain when all this came to bat. Most of what I've heard has been a reiteration of the same things we've gone over. Y'all excuse me, I'm getting over something and my voice hops in and out, but so in light of that, you know, I live on Rapidan Road. When I didn't live on Rapidan Road, I got onto Rapidan Road, so I've lived on Rapidan Road for 60 years. And everyone that goes by Randall's house goes by my house. So all the ones that pass all y'all, they all go by me, and yeah, I was home yesterday sick, and yeah, there's bunches and bunches. I'm inclined not to support this. The only thing that gives me pause at the end is Bob. That's one of the reasons I gave him a job to do for the county, because he always does something I find thoughtful. Though I would really, for myself, like to think about this a little bit longer before I make my final say, which may be overridden by all my colleagues here in one way or the other, but that's where I am at the moment.
Okay. George?
A number of things, actually. And quite honestly, Bob hit on something that has relevance throughout the county, not just on Rapidan Road. And it has relevance to do with all drivers. I don't care whether you're driving a bicycle or tractor trailer. Our society has gotten out of control. Our society does not pay attention to the traffic laws, period. I was actually riding with somebody the other day, and I wanted to get out of their car because we came up to a stop sign and they said, "No cop, no stop." And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." No consideration whatsoever. And Bob brought up an extremely good point about self-regulation. And I can assure you, I've dealt with Ed on a number of different issues, whether it be through his companies or through the educational system, whatever else. And I believe that Ed already does just about everything that he could do, but I am willing to bet that he would be more than happy to set up a hotline for that specific purpose. Because I tell you, I know a lot of the drivers, and 99% of them, just like good car drivers, obey the laws, do what they are supposed to do. And I think some self-policing would make a huge difference. I serve on the Transportation Committee for the Virginia Association of Counties. And quite honestly, this meeting is nothing different than going down to a VACO conference and the talk that we have statewide about traffic. And on the statewide side of it, it revolves a lot about interstates, because Route 64 hasn't been around very long. The Interstate 64 is relatively new. And when it first opened, and probably for the first 25 years, it was an underutilized highway, just like the Dulles Toll Road or the Dulles Access Road before it was a toll road. Orange County has almost all of its roads are the same way. They were underutilized. The state has calculations they use for traffic saturation on all the highways. And, you know, if Route 20 doesn't come in as being saturated, I don't believe any of the other roads in this county are. Another comment that was made was that there was more and more truck traffic. There's other traffic that I like to eat at restaurants in the town of Orange, and I'll tell you, I have a horrible time hearing because of these damn trains. You know, these trains are just so inconsiderate. They fly through the center of Orange.
Stop traffic.
They stop traffic. They cause traffic jams. Scare people to no end. And there's more of them. And you know what? That's a result of human society. And Orange County is growing. Culpeper County is growing. Everything we do depends totally on commerce. Without commerce, you wouldn't be able to go to a restaurant, you wouldn't be able to, well, there are a number of people in this room that are self-sufficient on their farms. But the ones that aren't, you wouldn't be able to get anything at the grocery stores, the local markets, the Dollar General that people didn't want in Unionville that you can't even get in the parking lot now. So we are our own worst enemies as far as trying to restrict and change and reroute everything. And I said in our first meeting about this, I felt that we would be opening up a can of worms that we didn't want to touch, because I've had exactly what I was predicted would happen. I've had people coming up to me and saying, I don't want through truck traffic on Route 20. I don't want it on Route 15. I don't like the volume of traffic on the little dead-end road that I live on. And Mr. Saunders can tell you, we are well in excess of 350 cars on a 1 mile dead-end road. Now that's just the cars, that's not the FedEx trucks, it's not the UPS trucks, that's not the dump trucks. So I understand the frustrations and the concerns, but this is a county that depends on the commerce of not only our county, but our neighbors. And I've talked with members from the Culpeper Board, and as one gentleman said, they're not gonna do anything. They have no interest, desire whatsoever to do anything. I really believe that a public education campaign from the community and from Cedar Mountain Stone is the best solution. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else want to make a general comment?
Well, one of the things that was mentioned a couple of times was the possibility of making any road improvements that might alleviate any of the issues. I don't know whether VDOT has had a chance to look at that, but I know that other places they're straightening out curves and they're doing a variety of things. And it may very well be that there's not much you can do in this particular case, but that's one of the things that we at least ought to be looking at.
Okay. Well, to the matter at hand, which I was just looking at my notes, and while a lot of comments were made using the term through truck traffic, in most cases, and I think I could only flag one, as a matter of fact, were they actually referring to through truck traffic as VDOT defines it. What we have in front of us tonight is actually a very narrow resolution and request to address an issue of through truck traffic in Orange County, in Orange County's section of Route 615. It seems to me that the issue of through truck traffic does not warrant asking VDOT to commit resources and time to study a problem that isn't the problem that most people are concerned with here. Probably a better solution, as my colleagues have pointed to, is a little additional attention and self-enforcement, communication among those that live and use, particularly those that use the road. I'm inclined to say that rather than send VDOT off to do something that isn't addressing the main problem, and frankly, realistically, I would like for you to picture in your mind a no-through truck traffic sign just on this side of the Rapidan Bridge. Nothing else, just that. That's all VDOT could do based on this resolution. Tell me what good that does. Doesn't address, of the 27 people that spoke and the other 5 that submitted documents, doesn't address except one comment from all of that. So I'm inclined not to waste VDOT's resources on that matter, but rather try to work with Alan and VDOT and the community for that matter, and the truckers, and see if there isn't a better solution out there. I think we'd get a willing participant from the users. I know Alan is interested in working, we've heard issues of speed limits and enforcement and safety checks and all of these kind of things. There's probably a better program that needs to be put in place, something that we do have an input to and an authority to deal with. That's a far better solution, I think, than proceeding with a resolution that's frankly missing the target entirely.
Well, every time I go to Lowe's to buy a tool, I find out that they've come out with a bunch of new tools that they didn't have 10 years ago. And if you go back to, the first tool, what was it? Maybe it was a rock that was people used for a hammer. And when somebody invented screws, that didn't work real well. And so somebody invented a screwdriver, and then some idiot had to put a 4-way slot on the screws. So then they had to come up with a Phillips head screwdriver. And the point I'm clumsily trying to make here is very often people have a problem, they get frustrated, and they cast about for a way to try to fix it. And somebody says, well, why don't we do this? And the train one of those trains Jim was talking about comes roaring through, and some people jump on it and some people don't. But the fact of the matter is, as Jim has just pointed out, the tool that's being suggested here is just not the appropriate tool. Most of the traffic that's causing a problem, first of all, it's not just causing it on Rapidan Road, it's causing it on roads across the state of Virginia. Does anybody in this room enjoy driving on Route 81? I mean, you talk about taking your life into your hands. I mean, so we would be all safer as a society if there were no large trucks at all. Everything would cost a lot more, though, and it would. We'd also be safer as a society if all cars had governors that won't let you go over 25 miles an hour. But, we're not in favor of that. So there is a trade-off. There's a safety trade-off with sort of the realities of what life demands. And truckers are extremely important to the economy. The goods that they haul, it's not like they're out there, they haul it from here and dump it here and then bring it back from there and dump it there. I mean, they're taking it to work sites where people are building stuff and where dollars are exchanging hands. So, there is this tool of restricting through traffic. Presumably, there are instances where that's a good idea, but I don't think this is not the place. And it's to the extent there is a problem, I'm not saying there isn't, but to the extent there is a problem, I would think there would be better tools out there to be used to address it than a big rock that we slam into the process, and as Jim points out, probably would have a minimal effect on the problem that's got folks upset, but would have a more than minimal effect negative effect on the economy of Orange and some parts of Orange County. And, you know, somebody talked about the fact that you're just moving the problem to somebody else's backyard, and that's quite literally what you're doing. I mean, if they can't come up Rapidan Road, then they're gonna have to go up another road that somebody else has to travel or somebody else has to live on. Those truck trips are not just gonna disappear. So, I think we need to go back to the tool shed and see if there isn't a better tool that can be applied to this particular job.
What about a speed camera? If you're speeding and get a picture of the trucks, what about that? Virginia's just starting to let that come into effect as a tool you could use.
Well, I think that's an example of what I was talking about. I think we can work with VDOT, we can work with the enforcement side, we can work with the businesses.
Before the mill started, before the, Rockwall started doing this, did they do a study on the impact on the highways?
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, yeah, I hate to cut you off, but at this point, we have to have the conversation up here.
Public hearing is closed.
Public hearing is closed.
Okay. This issue is not, sir.
Public hearing is closed, sir.
Okay.
Did you hear me that time?
Yes, sir.
Good.
I don't think we should drag this out. I think we need to make a decision this evening. We know that we've got to, there's a problem that needs to be resolved, but this is not the solution. So.
Listening to others, I agree.
We need to.
We have a choice. We can take no action, which effectively defeats the resolution. We can bring it before, have a second, discuss it, and then have a vote. What's your pleasure? Anybody want to make a motion on the resolution itself? Or do we take no action, therefore the resolution fails?
I would say that, based on conversations here, there is a better alternative that we move to vote no.
I will second
And
that.
then proceed to try to get people to work together to see if we can find a solution that makes everybody more happy.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to reject the resolution. Any discussion? About a roll call, Allison.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Crozier?
Aye.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Goodwin?
Aye.
Mr. Fulton?
Aye.
Okay. All right. That completes our agenda. I need one more motion.
We adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.